President Trump announcing his first post-tariff trade deal with the United Kingdom. He's also planning to negotiate a deal with the European Union and is open to reducing his 145% tariffs on China. This as talks are expected this weekend. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
There could be no more perfect morning to reach this historic agreement.
On the 80th anniversary of Victory Day for World War II, President Trump unveiling a new trade agreement with the UK, the first of its kind since President Trump announced a global tariff plan back in early April. This new agreement, Trump says, will bring in billions of dollars and increase market access for American exports.
Especially in agriculture, dramatically increasing access for American beef, ethanol.
The larger goal, Trump and the UK Prime Minister say, is to boost fairness and protect jobs in both countries.
It's going to not only protect jobs, but create jobs, opening market.
Specifically, the agreement will leave in place a 10% baseline tariff that Trump imposed on Britain. But the U.S. would cut its auto tariffs from nearly 30% to now 10% for 100,000 British cars, the UK's top export to the U.S. It will also reduce tariffs on UK steel and aluminum down to zero. In return, the UK will open access to American beef, ethanol, and other farm products. While details of the agreement remain to be ironed out in the coming weeks and that the deal serves more like a framework or like a springboard, like the UK calls it, for future cooperation, and the Trump administration officials emphasize that Trump played a major role in closing this deal.
He gets things done in a matter of time. This would have taken Jameson and I 3 years, maybe. And instead, we got it done in 45 days, certainly because we work for Donald Trump.
On other countries, the president walked out of the West Wing in the afternoon and told us that the U.S. is working on 3 other trade agreements.
We're doing 3. We'll be doing a lot of the signings.
And White House trade advisor Peter Navarro told the NTD that the trade team is moving at Trump speed. Which countries might be next?
Every single day, we've got representatives from different countries coming in. I just want to assure the American people that we are moving in Trump time, which is to say as quickly as possible.
President Trump says the U.S. is working on a deal with the EU and that he's open to cutting his 145% tariffs on China, depending on how talks go this weekend between Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent and his Chinese counterparts. Trump further says that he wants China to open up and let American businesses in.
But that'll be the greatest thing that ever happened to China. The people will be happier. They'll buy for less. They'll see things that they never saw before, and they'll be buying them. And it'll really create great long-term peace.
But Trump also suggests that the U.S. would have been better off if it didn't do business with China in the first place, adding that it's a good thing that for now, imports from China are down. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill reacting to the news of the trade deal, Republicans celebrating while Democrats questioning the impact of Trump's tariff policies. Our Washington correspondent Louise Martinez brings us more.
It's great. I mean, he's the guy to negotiate these deals. He's doing a successful job, and everybody seems to want to come to the table and do a deal with the United States, and that's great for America.
Trump is working. What he's saying is working, and he's correct, and he's bringing these people to the table. And the reason he's doing it and Congress isn't because Congress doesn't have the guts, because we're compromised, and we will never do the right thing, and he knows it.
As Republicans celebrated the announcement of President Trump's first trade deal since Liberation Day, Democrats remained apprehensive of its potential impact and remained critical of the president's tariff policies.
I mean, I got to see the details, but obviously the tariffs are much more bigger than just one country, and the impact that it has on the markets and the economy is devastating. So
the reality is that his trade policy and the tariff policy is already destroying our economy. And trade is down at our ports by 35%. And so that's already a really big problem. And so there's just no question that the trade policy is horrific for the country.
House Freedom Caucus Chairman Congressman Andy Harris believes that the president's tariff policies can unite the House Republican Conference behind the reconciliation process outlined by the Republican leaders.
Do you think that trade deals with other countries will unlock strategies for the Republican conference regarding reconciliation bill?
No, absolutely. What they'll prove is that the president is absolutely right. I mean, what he's done with tariffs is exactly what needed to be done. This is the first of many trade deals. He's going to make America great again by bringing industry back to the United States. Excuse me, I've got to vote.
Yeah. Thank you, Congressman.
And on reconciliation, what is your view? What do you think is the largest impasse for the House Republican Conference to get a deal done?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a challenge because we have a lot of different varying opinions. My biggest concern is that we need to make sure we deliver on Trump's agenda.
The main concern is finding the savings. Because if we don't find the right amount of savings, we can't have the tax cuts at the level we need. We're going to extend the tax cuts. That's a $4.5 trillion tax cut. In order to find that, we have to find $2 trillion plus the $2.5 trillion in economic growth.
House Democrats continue to accuse Republicans of targeting Medicaid benefits to reach their $1.5 trillion spending cut target.
There's no way that they're going to be able to extend this huge tax cut to the very rich without hurting Medicaid. And many other constituencies are Medicaid recipients. So they're going to have to go back home and explain it to their constituents.
Republican lawmakers insist that they will not target benefits, but instead will target waste, fraud, and abuse within Medicaid. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
President Trump reshuffling some of his appointments. The president has selected Casey Means as nominee for Surgeon General. This comes just hours after he withdrew Jeanette Neshawat, a former Fox News contributor, from that position. Means is a Stanford-trained doctor who has been outspoken about the health of the country. Means and her brother, Cauley, are also critics of the pharmaceutical and food industry. Meanwhile, President Trump has pulled back his nomination for U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., Ed Martin. Martin has been serving as the interim U.S. Attorney since inauguration. He faced opposition from both Democrats and a single Republican on the Judiciary Committee. And at the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the acting administrator, Cameron Hamilton, has been let go. The move comes one day after Hamilton testified in front of the House Appropriations Committee. The first American-born pope in history was announced today. Cardinal Robert Prevost was elected on the second day of the conclave, becoming the leader of approximately 1.4 billion Catholics around the world.
Crowds rejoiced as the bells of St. Peter's Basilica tolled today after white smoke emerged from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. The cardinals have elected the 267th pope to lead the Catholic Church.
Habemus Papam.
American Cardinal Robert Prevost, a protege of the late Pope Francis, has taken the name Pope Leo XIV. In his first public remarks, the new pope said,
"And to all those people, wherever they are, all peoples throughout the world, peace be with you."
Prevost was born in Chicago and studied mathematics at Villanova University before becoming ordained as a priest in 1982. Prior to being elected as Pope, he served as leader of the Vatican Office for Bishop Appointments. It's one of the most important jobs in the Catholic Church. The 69-year-old pontiff also has extensive experience in Peru, first as a missionary and then as an archbishop. He's a member of the Augustinian religious order, which he also led for more than a decade as their prior general. President Trump congratulated the newly elected pope on Truth Social, calling the news a great honor for our country. The State Department also reacted to the news.
This is a moment of profound significance for the Catholic Church, offering renewed hope and continuity amid the 2025 Jubilee year to over 1 billion faithful worldwide. The United States looks forward to deepening our enduring relationship with the Holy See with the first American pontiff. That is again from Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Pope Leo is the first pope from the United States in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church.
Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping is in Russia, taking part in celebrations of the anniversary of the end of World War II in Europe. What does this mean for the United States and ultimately for the rest of the world? To discuss, we welcome Rick Fisher, Senior Fellow at the International Assessment and Strategy Center. It's great to have you with us, Rick. So, CCP leader Xi Jinping in Russia today, this until Saturday. The main event coming up is a military parade commemorating the end of World War II. What message do you think Russia is trying to send by inviting the Chinese regime leader, and how should the U.S. be looking at this?
Well, Xi Jinping has been quite direct and vocal that he is going to Moscow to join with Vladimir Putin to oppose American hegemony. I mean, it's really, as the Chinese say, thief crying thief, or hypocrisy. 27 million Russians died fighting against Hitler's fascism, and the Chinese Communist Party did nothing to defeat Nazism in Europe. And today, Putin greeted Xi in the Kremlin like a pair of emperors. It was really stunning. And this is now the threat that China and Russia pose to the free world. It is a very dangerous time.
Rick, to your point, Russian President Vladimir Putin said the meetings thus far have been warm and substantive. We've seen this sort of gradual coalescing between these two regimes. At this point, what would greater cooperation between Russia and China look like? And perhaps what signals should we be watching for to see if things start to increase or decrease on the diplomatic front between the two nations?
Vladimir Putin's grand design that he has been implementing over the last 15 years is to align with Communist China to defeat the United States. And this program is now playing out as both Russia and China arm nuclear North Korea with additional missile, now naval capabilities. China is arming a proxy war currently between Pakistan and India, and China and Russia are together in arming and in preserving the radical regime in Iran, which is trying to destroy Israel. This is just how it is today. In the future, I expect that Russia will send forces to join with Chinese forces that are invading Taiwan, and I expect that Russia will be receiving much greater Chinese assistance, maybe even formal forces, should Russia expand its war, not just in Ukraine, but also perhaps against Moldova or against the Baltic states in Europe.
Rick, Russia appears to be enacting a short ceasefire in Ukraine for this World War II parade that they have, but a full peace deal seems still not within reach. I want to play a clip from President Trump talking about it today.
I think we're making good progress. The fighting is a little bit different than it was. I think if we weren't involved, Russia would be, going at it to maybe get the whole thing without our involvement.
Rick, how do you assess the dynamic right now, where things stand?
Well, President Trump is certainly doing the Lord's work in trying to end the war, Russia's war against Ukraine. The Russians don't appear to be that eager to stop this war. One certainly hopes that President Trump's powers of persuasion will be brought to bear on Moscow. But I think we should also be prepared for a basic Russian refusal, and that combined with assistance, economic and maybe even greater military assistance from China and North Korea, that Vladimir Putin is simply content to continue this war to try to conquer democratic Ukraine.
Rick, pivoting to a different part of the world right now, we're seeing tensions rising between Pakistan and India. Some interesting notes there. India's military, from what I understand, primarily backed by Russia. Pakistan military backed by China. Not to get into the weeds too much, but what do you make of the conflict there? How sensitive could things be there?
Well, one of the most stunning demonstrations has been the success of China's very long-range air-to-air missiles, downing 2, maybe even 5 of India's modern fighters sent in to attack terrorist bases in Pakistan. The United States does not yet have equal capable long-range air-to-air missiles. And this is a very sore point for the United States as it tries to deter war on the Taiwan Strait, on the Korean Peninsula, and in Europe.
Rick, lastly, how does Iran factor into all of this, especially as nuclear talks with the U.S. are scheduled to resume this weekend? President Trump also floating the idea of renaming the Persian Gulf, which is directly attributed to Iran, to the Gulf of Arabia.
Again, President Trump is doing the Lord's work in trying to convince the radical Iranian regime that its future is best if it does not have nuclear weapons. I don't think that Russia and China share this objective, even though they say they do. And again, it is going to test President Trump's powers of persuasion to convince Iran to forego its vast nuclear weapons program without having to use weapons to compel them.
Senior Fellow at the International Assessment and Strategy Center, Rick Fisher, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Gulf of America one step closer to being codified into law. This after House Republicans passing a bill to rename that ocean basin. The Gulf of America Act passed along party lines. It's now up to the Senate to take it up, where it would require at least 7 Democrats to side with Republicans in order to pass. House Speaker Mike Johnson on X today calling it one of the many steps House Republicans are taking to codify President Trump's agenda into law, and promised more to come. A large map of southeastern states with Gulf of America title sitting on a stand outside of the Speaker's office. Georgia Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene introducing that bill, which would direct all federal agencies to change their documents and maps to reflect the new name. President Trump signed an executive order within hours of his inauguration to rename the ocean basin that borders 5 southern states. The Gulf of America is one of the most critical regions for onshore and offshore oil drilling and gas production, a focus of Trump's America First agenda. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.